Hello everyone, it's your Peacekeeper, and we're back with the next video in our How to Play series on the Japanese cruiser line. This is the Tier 7 Myoukou class cruiser. The Myoukou class cruiser was a class of 4 heavy cruisers built for the Japanese Navy between 1924 and 1929. The 4 ships are Myoukou, Nachi, Haguro, and Ashigara. The Myoukou class was the first cruiser designed by the Japanese Navy that exceeded the 10,000-ton limit imposed by the Washington Naval Treaty, and their nearly 15,000-ton fully loaded displacement included 10 20.3-centimeter or 8-inch guns, which at the time of their launch was the heaviest main battery armament of any cruiser in the world. The whole design is derived from the Aoba and Furutaka class heavy cruisers. They lengthened and widened the hull profile to give us Myoukou. The ships, as launched, had 102 millimeters of belt armor and 35 millimeter deck armor, which was pretty heavy for cruiser armor at the time. The Myoukou was also launched with aircraft launching facilities, which they used for reconnaissance purposes. They were able to carry 3 aircraft on board and launch 2 simultaneously. All 4 ships escorted troop transports during the first Shanghai incident in the 1930s. Shortly after that, the Takao-class cruisers pushed the Myoukous into reserve due to the Takaos being more modern. And during the run-up to World War II, the Myoukous went into some heavy refits that included increasing anti-aircraft complement. During World War II, Myoukou and Nachi participated in the invasion of the Philippine Islands, where Myoukou was hit by a 500-pound bomb, which did minor damage to her. Myoukou would go on to fight in the Battle of the Java Sea with Ashigara. From there, she went on to participate in the Solomon Islands campaign, where she fought in the Battle of the Philippine Sea and the Battle of Leyte Gulf. During Leyte, Myoukou was torpedoed by aircraft and forced to return to Japan. While sailing home, she was hit by a torpedo from the submarine USS Burgal, which severed Myouko's stern completely off. She was towed back to Singapore for repairs, but due to lack of materials, she remained in the harbor where she and Takao, which suffered a similar fate, were converted into anti-aircraft barges. Myoukou survived and was surrendered to the Royal Navy on September 21, 1945. She would eventually be towed out to the Strait of Malacca and scuttled. Nachi participated in the invasion of the Philippine Islands with Myoukou. She also participated in the Battle of Java Sea, where she assisted in the sinking of the last remaining Allied ships in the Dutch East Indies. Nachi went and was the flagship for the Aleutian Islands campaign, where she fought in the Battle of Komandorsky Island. She would be damaged during the battle and forced to return to Yokosuka port for repair. During the Battle of Suragawa Strait and the Leyte Gulf campaign, Nachi collided with Mogami and was forced to return to Manila, where she was subsequently attacked by aircraft and sunk. Interestingly enough, the wreck was dived on during World War II, and many secrets of the Imperial Japanese Navy were discovered from documents recovered from the wreck. Haguro participated in the Battle of Java Sea, where she assisted in the sinking of many ships there. She went on to fight in the Battle of the Coral Sea, then the Battle of the Eastern Solomons, and the Battle of Empress Augusta Bay. She survived the Battle of the Philippine Sea and took light damage during the Battle of Leyte Gulf. During the Battle of Malacca Strait, Haguro and the Kamikaze-class destroyer Kamikaze were ambushed by British destroyers. During the battle, she was hit by 3 torpedoes and gunfire from the British destroyers. She ultimately sank stern first. Haguro is listed as the last major Japanese warship to be sunk during World War II. Ashigara participated in the invasion of Luzon, the Battle of the Java Sea, the Battle of Leyte Gulf, and during the Battle of Leyte Gulf, she was present in the Battle of Suragawa Strait, but managed to escape the slaughter, for lack of a better phrase, largely undamaged. She would eventually successfully shell U.S. positions in Mindoro in the Philippines, but while she was there, she was struck by a 500-pound bomb from B-25 bombers. She went to Singapore for repairs, and while there, she eventually began doing transport runs of troops and supplies to the Dutch East Indies. She would be attacked by several submarines during that time, and in the Bangka Strait, 3 Allied subs ambushed Ashigara and Kamikaze, and during the battle, Ashigara was struck by 7 torpedoes and sank. In terms of their in-game play style, the Myoukou is, by most people's accounts, a solid ship overall. However, I have to admit that I really find this ship frustrating to play, mostly because the ship's guns have some of the worst arcs of any cruiser in the game. And then on top of that, for having heavier armor than most Tier 7 cruisers, she still feels really soft when it comes to dealing with other cruisers, destroyers, and especially battleships. You would think for having 4 inches of belt armor, the ship would be able to bounce some armor-piercing shells while angled, but it just seems that the ship just accepts citadels from any angle, regardless of whether or not you are properly angled against that shell fire. The turret traverse, as I've already mentioned, is painfully slow, and the torpedoes have ridiculously bad arcs and are basically only usable while retreating, and even then you still have to expose a pretty decent amount of your side in order to actually utilize those torpedoes. And you can see them here. They're mounted here in the middle of the ship underneath the aircraft facilities. The upsides to the ship, though, is that she does have good HE damage. She does have good AP damage. But using all 10 guns requires exposing an unhealthy amount of the ship's broadside, which means you have to choose between either wiggling around to try and bring all the guns to bear, which the guns don't even keep up with the ship's rotation as you do those maneuvers, so you have to wait as you get to certain points to get the guns on target because they don't keep up with the ship's turn. Overall, that's kind of frustrating. On the upside, the ship is fairly maneuverable and reasonably stealthy for a Tier 7 cruiser, and that can allow her to escape from some bad situations as well as maneuver between incoming shell fire. Those are her primary strengths, by the way. The HE, doing fire damage and all that, I mean, she does it, but it's not nearly as strong as some of the other cruisers are, in my opinion. And overall, I just don't enjoy playing the ship like I do other ships in the Japanese cruiser line. Let's talk about some stats. She has 39,200 hit points, up to 102 millimeters of armor, which is going to be in the belt, which is buried right there in this massive citadel. So you can see just how big the citadel is on this thing. It is above water in the midships, amidships in the middle of the ship, and quite honestly, that explains a lot. Now, if we take off this upper deck here, you can see part of the reason why she gets citadeled so easily while angled. It's the 76 millimeter section here, and here, when enemy incoming shell fire hits the ship from the front, basically it's going to penetrate through the relatively thin upper hull, which is only 25 millimeters. It's going to hit that flat section and it's going to citadel her. That's why the ship is kind of frustrating to play, in my opinion. She does have a 13% torpedo damage reduction. The main battery does consist of 10 5-inch English. Does have 10 8-inch guns mounted in 5 dual turrets. You've got 3 4, 2 aft. The middle of the front 2 is the front 3 is super firing, and the third turret faces backwards, which means that in terms of gun arcs, you basically have to be broadside to use that one. The rear 2 turrets, the fourth turret is super firing, which is kind of nice, meaning that it can fire over the rear turret if need be. She does have a secondary armament, which consists of 8 total 5-inch 40 caliber guns. They are in 4 dual mounts mounted on 2 each side. So there they are. There's one there, one there. 15.6 kilometer main battery firing range. Secondary battery goes out to 5K, and that's going to be without advanced firing training or speccing into secondaries. 14-second reload time. 21% fire chance. That's going to be with demo expert on the captain and with the fire flags. So that steps down. I think it's about 19 without the flags, and then 17 without demo expert. Overall, though, 4,700 AP damage, shell AP damage, 3,300 in HE shell. Not too shabby overall. She does have torpedoes, but like I said, the arcs on them are absolutely terrible. She's got 4 triple launchers. They do have a 10-kilometer range, 62 knot speed, 1.6 kilometer detection range, and 17,233 damage when they do hit, or if they do hit, I should say. In terms of anti-aircraft defense, this is one area which the ship is actually quite tolerable. While using the defensive fire consumable, her AA is respectable. She has 26 single 25mm guns, 8 dual 25mm guns, and 4 triple 25mm guns, as well as those 4 dual 5-inch 40 caliber gun mounts. Her AA bubble starts out at 5 kilometers and steps down to 3.1, and that's going to be, again, without any mods to increase the range of AA, or captain skills for that fact. Max speed 35 knots, 780 meter turning radius, 5.7 second rudder shift time with the rudder shift module, which is really good. Her concealment, 11.2 kilometers by sea and 7.2 by air. In terms of upgrades, in this first slot, Main Armaments Mod 1, the ship still has just enough of a tendency to have her main turrets knocked out. It's nice to have this to help reduce the chance of your main battery and torpedo tubes, I guess, becoming incapacitated by 20%, increasing their hit points by 50%, and decreasing the time it takes to repair them by 20%. Because the ship does have pretty decent AA, I can also see a case being made for Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1, which is going to double the hit points of your AA mounts. And because all of your AA is concentrated in those 25mm guns, any hit points you can give them is only going to help them stay around longer. These other options, Magazine Mod 1, don't really see a whole lot of use for that. Cruisers don't get detonated quite that often. In the second slot, I am running Aiming Systems Mod 1 for the 7% reduction in main battery dispersion, as well as 20% increase in the torpedo tube traverse speed. The 5% to the main battery of your secondary battery firing range and minus 5% in the dispersion of those secondary batteries, that's just kind of the icing on the cake. Speccing the ship for secondaries is a really bad idea, so please don't do it. The other option here that I could see is viable is AA Guns Mod 2. Again, if you're looking to push out the anti-aircraft bubble on the ship, this would definitely be one of the mods that you could take that would help out. With all of the requisite commander skills, you can push her AA bubble out to 7.2 kilometers for those 5-inch gun mounts, and her AA gets quite respectable when fully spec'd into it. It's respectable even when you're not fully spec'd into it. These other two mods I just don't see as useful. Again, the secondaries are pretty atrocious, and I don't believe in giving up rate of fire for increase in turret traverse speed. In the third spot, I am running Propulsion Systems Mod 1 for the 20% reduction in the engine, the chance of the engine becoming incapacitated, as well as a 20% reduction in the time it takes to repair the engine. A solid case could be made for Steering Gears Mod 1. This ship has a tendency to lose both at a pretty alarming rate. Personally, I can deal with the steering gears being locked up for a little bit. Losing propulsion outright, though, is a death sentence, so that's the reason why I run Propulsion Systems Mod 1. Damage Control Systems Mod 1, not really any major impact on cruisers. Definitely don't recommend wasting your money on that one for a cruiser. In the fourth slot, you can see here I'm running Steering Gears Mod 2 for the 20% reduction in rudder shift time. This is how I play the ship. I personally prefer to be constantly mobile. However, if you're the type of person that believes in camping behind islands, Propulsion Systems Mod 2 is not a bad choice. The rudder shift time without the rudder shift module, the Steering Gears Mod 2, is acceptable. I just personally prefer that the ship be more agile, and so that's the reason why I use it. Just remember that Propulsion Systems Mod 2 only impacts the ship between that -6 and +6 knot range. Outside of that range, it really doesn't do anything for the ship. Damage Control Systems Mod 2 doesn't really help the ship out much. I personally would take the other two over that. Alright, so enough of me blabbing about the ship in port. Let's go look at a battle video. Alright, so this battle is going to be on the map Estuary. It is a Tier 7 fight, and there are carriers on this map. So I think we've checked off all the boxes for this to be a legit battle that we can use. Generally speaking, I enjoy this map, and on this map I tend to stick around the cap point nearest to me. There's not really any good strategy where you can crash one side or the other, or go up, hey diddle diddle, straight up the middle. In fact, playing Myoukou, you're going to see that I tend to play her a little bit more passively than other cruisers. She's not quite as capable as being an aggressor as, say, well, Furutaka or Aoba, or even, you know, Pensacola to an extent. I think Pensacola is very capable of being an aggressor with the right support. Myoukou can be too. The problem with Myoukou is that turret traverse means that she's not very good in the knife fight, and the really bad torpedo angles mean that basically any other Tier 7 cruiser, with the exception of Pensacola in Indianapolis, are going to be able to torpedo you pretty much without impunity, because you have to basically expose your complete broadside to even get torpedoes out on target. And we're going to show you that here in a second here, as soon as we get sailing in the correct direction. We've spawned on the south side on the west corner, so we are going to go over by A. This is actually the side that I prefer to go to. There seems to be a little bit more harder cover. We are going to try and sneak behind the island. Okay, so there's the torpedo arcs, absolutely god-awful. And just before that was the gun arcs. You can see not terribly amazing. Basically are going to be presenting your broadside at the perfect angle for enemy battleships to penetrate deep into your citadel and destroy you on a whim. Now remember, this ship's armor around its citadel is, as far as heavy cruisers go, pretty respectable. The problem is, again, that step up just behind the number 3 turret there, that actually punishes the ship heavily for exposing any form of broadside. And not only broadside, but it makes it difficult to angle, because you basically have to angle enough to, you know, bounce shells with 76 millimeters of armor. Good luck. Alright, so we got Al Judy here. We're going to go ahead and engage him, but we need to get moving because we are a sitting duck. We do have an island here, which is useful, but 4 shell hits for 4,300 damage. Not too bad. We can see here we got an enemy aircraft incoming, so we're going to go ahead and pop our defensive fire consumable. We've already shot down 2 aircraft. Probably save this Gnevny here. Except for in the process, we're going to almost beach ourselves. So the carriers, fighters do come into this fight. Oh, there goes another one. And there goes another one. So you can see here that her AA is really not too shabby. There's down 3. So we're up to 6 now. And that's just with defensive fire. This isn't even spec'd into AA at all. There's 7. And they are Tier 7 aircraft, so it's not like we are, you know, shooting down Tier 5 aircraft on a unupgraded Tier 6 one. Yeah, so launch those torpedoes thinking that maybe we'd be able to catch the destroyer that was in A. Should have probably checked my mini-map a little bit closer there, because we got ourselves an Iron Duke. There was a Königsberg there. Both those ships probably got a pretty healthy pucker moment going on at this point. Because, yep, those torpedoes are awfully close. Yeah. Be careful when launching torpedoes. That should be pretty obvious. And given that I was just recently pink because of something similar, admittedly that wasn't my fault that he hit them. He was headed in the opposite direction. You'd think that this would be something that I would remember. Okay, so we got ourselves a Scharnhorst over here, and again, you can see I'm playing the ship at the longer ranges. You can also see just how poorly those guns keep up with the ship's turn rate. Makes for a very, very frustrating ship to play, especially if you're trying to quickly hunt between targets. Myoukou does not do switching between targets aggressively, so if you are the type of person that likes to do that, like I do, you definitely need to be pre-planning ahead. If you don't, pretty much you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to get destroyed before you actually bring all of your guns to bear. So we need to get back over to our Iron Duke and Gnevny and whatever that cruiser was that's over there. We should probably go help them so we can cap A and continue to push on. We do have a Colorado back here, and our Ranger is on his way, Aoba as well, and another cruiser. You'd think that we should probably keep some guys over there on D. Now, my initial impression here was that maybe we'll be able to get out here and poke the Scharnhorst with some torpedoes, and to do so, we're going to shut down this channel so that he can't just do that on a whim. And as you can see here, we are patiently waiting for those turrets to finally traverse. And once they do, Yep, only had 2 available. So now we're offsetting our shots. We got 2,000 damage there with two normal pens. And 6 normal pens for 5,400 damage. And, oh, turn away! Eee! Boy, if he could have aimed that, that could have been kind of nasty. This ship doesn't do very well in kiting situations either, and look at that, 5,700 damage, just boonk, gone. And that's the price that you pay to use this ship in a kiting manner. And it doesn't work terribly well when charging either, so you're kind of, for lack of a better phrase, you're kind of SOL. And here we are, caught basically broadside, turning away, thankfully. And whew, swing and a miss. Lucked out there. Okay, so we managed to start that Scharnhorst on fire. Hey, can't complain about that. Got an enemy Auba here that we could definitely use to address. The more damage we can deal to him, the better. That Scharnhorst repaired that fire, so it's time to go ahead and focus him again. This is what I was talking about. The ship just is really frustrating to get, you know, its guns on target. And unfortunately, we're going to be able to make this turn. No. Of course not. Why would we be able to? We're going to sit broadside here to enemy battleships, probably a cruiser. Yeah, any number of ships that really not ideal. We got ourselves an Auba straight ahead and Auba off to our broadside. At least the one that's off to our broadside is far enough away that I don't think he's shooting at us. Incoming fire from who knows what. Do manage to get switched over to AP. And you can see here, waiting on those turrets. Alright, well, we're going to go ahead and fire those shells, see what happens. Maybe we can get ourselves a lucky hit. Aha! We got ourselves a citadel. And torpedoes that disappeared before they got to me. Excellent. Can pretty much guarantee that this Auba is also launched torpedoes. Want to pay attention to that. But we've got him broadside, and down he goes to a citadel hit. So we are up to 1 kill and 24,000 damage. We're going to try traversing our turrets the other way here to try and get over to some heavier units to have them be very good at distracting targets. And this Auba is coming out. I wish the smoke was so thick. Would have been about the perfect opportunity to sink him. We're going to switch back to HE though, because, well, we missed for 1. That's annoying. Oh, New Mexico over there. And hey, he got a citadel hit. So that's yeah, you can see just how squishy this ship is. It doesn't take much, and those torpedo arcs again are really frustrating to use. The only reason I'm able to dodge these King George V shells is because not only am I W, A, S, and D, well, not only am I A and D'ing in this, I'm also W and S'ing hard, trying to speed up and slow down while I turn to throw off his aim as much as possible. Anything is better than nothing. Especially when you're talking about a ship that's this soft. Ugh. Okay, so we did 2K to him. Just whittling away at our hit points, and since he fired, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try our damnedest to turn away. Now, we've managed to start him on fire, which is good. Fires are good. Need to get behind this island. Well, we got a aircraft of some sort still up. Need this Colorado to take over receiving fire for a little bit. Ooh, look, a destroyer. Let's see if we can't get ourselves some destroyer. We're going to launch torpedoes. We were pretty good there on those torpedo arcs. Don't have to worry about hitting anybody this time. But this King George V, he's looking awfully juicy. Ooh, got ourselves some torpedo bombers trying to torpedo me. Slam on the brakes and turn at the last minute. And they miss. Okay, we can speed back up now and continue to shoot at this King George V. We do have 10 aircraft hit. We are up to 44,500 some odd damage. Oh, 50,700. 51,000 damage. 1 kill, 2 Citadel hits. Just, you know, goes to show that this ship is definitely capable of using its fair share of AP and HE, especially on broadside cruisers. You know, that's one thing
Ammo selection is absolutely important in any ship, except for the Royal Navy cruisers, which you don't have a choice on what you should use. You are stuck with what you've got. The downside to having options is sometimes it takes far too long to actually switch between the two, and that can cause all sorts of other problems. So we've gone ahead and we've we got him. Okay, so the King George V is dead. We want to continue to present ourselves a nose forward profile on this New Mexico. His accuracy isn't good enough to really citadel us through the nose, but their destroyer is definitely off to our left. Oh, hey, look, hi there. Okay, so a little bit of damage there. We do have our Ranger over here. Do need to pay attention to the fact that there is a destroyer. Aha! Destroyer torpedoes. WASD sneaks us through on this one. We're probably not going to be that lucky. Well, maybe. We'll see. We're going to continue to engage this Ranger. The turrets are taking forever to traverse, but we did start him on fire twice, which means he's most likely going to burn his repair party consumable now. Yep, okay, so he burned his repair party consumable. That means any fires we shoot from now on are going to stick. Another 1,000 damage there we've managed to mitigate. Wow, complete miss of the Ranger on that one. No other ships that are really in range to shoot at us aside from the New Mexico, so as long as we keep a nose forward profile to him, chances are we are basically going to avoid most of the problems. Continuing to fire at the Ranger. Okay, torpedoes. Be nice to have a... oh, there's a fire on the Ranger. It'd be nice to have hydro instead of defensive fire. It'd actually be nice to have both, because right now we are going to need defensive fire in ways that are unbelievable. So we went ahead and we've got our fighter up, and we need to pop defensive fire. There we go. So now that the carrier is burning, I'm going to try and turn around on this New Mexico here. You can see the defensive fire worked. Turning around on the New Mexico, and look at what we spot. We spot ourselves a destroyer. We are waiting. Quick check of the torpedoes. We'll go ahead and shoot those at him. He's going to disappear on us, but we're going to go ahead and continue to sail away as best we can from the New Mexico and pray that we don't get ourselves torpedoed in the process. Yep. Oh. Whew. We are up to 84,000 damage, 2 kills, 11 aircraft. Got ourselves a destroyer nearby. We've got ourselves aircraft. We've only got 5,600 hit points or so. Gotta be careful with how this proceeds. It'd be nice if our aircraft carrier would go ahead and get up here to, get his aircraft up here and start spotting this Minakaze. And this is a perfect example of where, playing carriers can be very difficult, because if all you have are idling aircraft, you aren't helping your team out at all. And in this case, he's got 2 fighters that are idling. Oh, my word. Only got 2k hit points left. Trying to get back into stealth, but that presence of that destroyer makes that very difficult. Finally goes away to the point where I'm finally stealthed up. Whew. And you'd think that this would be the end of this battle, wouldn't you? Well, it's really kind of not. So we're going to turn around, because glutton for punishment. Now I'm going to finally ask the CV for his help with his fighters to try and spot this destroyer. You can see, team-wise, we are down now. So the Minakaze managed to take out our Leander. That leaves us with an Iron Duke at full health and our Ranger, who has unknown aircraft complement. I'm assuming he's basically either out of or nearly out of strike aircraft, which is perfectly fine at this point, because their carrier is no longer existent. All the more reason why his aircraft should be running ramshot over their fleet. And we get spotted real quickly by the Minakaze here. We definitely want to address that. But the slow turret traverse kind of holds us back a little bit. And the lack of gun accuracy, yep, that definitely hurts too. Nobody is immune in this case. Oh, hey, we got 2K on that Minakaze there. That's always good. I'm all about taking off hit points on destroyers, especially when shooting at these longer ranges, especially on a small ship like Minakaze. Just got to be careful of what, we got to make sure that the New Mexico is either in the middle of his reload when we fire so that we disappear before he can shoot at us again, or that the Minakaze is out of gun range and can't shoot us with his guns. No hits there. We do have to worry about, they do have 2 cruisers that are off lingering over by A. Definitely want to be cognizant of their presence on this map. And because we are closing the distance on this Minakaze, we are going to be, a target for the New Mexico. So we got to be careful. And, okay, so the New Mexico there just got hit by dive bombers. Hoping again that the carrier brings, himself up to speed here. And, okay, so there's the Minakaze again. New Mexico still not focusing on us. New Mexico is burning. So we're going to try and continue to take out this Minakaze here. Most players at this point would probably just retreat or let go silent and wait the rest of the game out. But we simply don't have the player base left to do that. So I'm turning around here, praying that I can kill this Minakaze. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to, but I definitely don't want to hang around this New Mexico any longer than is necessary. So we're going to continue to engage, praying for some hits. And look at what's true. Ooh, got a hit. There's 1K off of him. But if you notice, the last time I saw the New Mexico, his guns were turning my way. So now it's time to bail. We are going to shoot at him with our rear turrets. We are not going to do anything aside from run straight the heck away and do a lot of praying. 270. Oh, more incoming. Whew. Lucky. No, all skill. There was no luck involved. And hey, look, a fire. Man, now is the time when we go, count my lucky blessings here. We are up to 93,000 damage and we are no longer detected. We have an emerald that is places. Nobody knows where he's at. The Cleveland is on his way up to help focus down our Iron Duke. I am in no condition to help, so I'm going to go over to A, maybe get lucky and ambush this Emerald if he goes for C. Just kind of depends. If I can plan this right, I can get close to the islands before those guys get over there. Maybe, just maybe, it will allow me to engage some of these targets and, get a little bit more damage before the end of this. We are over the 100,000 mark, just barely 100,941. So just barely over 100,000 damage. Pretty good game. It looks like that Emerald is going for C. So we're going to switch to AP. And the reason why I've switched to AP is because Emerald can be Citadel through the nose with 8-inch AP. Which means, lol, if they do decide to show up on our match here. So we are up to 924 points. This is a bit of a nail biter. Dear God, please nobody die. Our Ranger looks like he is taking a pounding there. Not a good sign. The Iron Duke, he's doing pretty good. He's about halfway. Maybe we can kill that New Mexico. That would be much needed points. Again, trying to get the Ranger to send some aircraft down south, specifically a fighter group, to try and spot this Emerald. Maybe I could, kill him before, but nope. Okay, so down goes their New Mexico. That puts us up to 980 points. And as you guys can imagine, this is a nail biter to the end. We've got one cap point. It is making us not much. And down goes our carrier. Not a good sign. Means we got two cruisers. Well, yeah, we have two cruisers and a destroyer to deal with. The destroyer is nearly dead. This Cleveland is enough hit points left that he could actually seriously take on this Iron Duke, and I am in no position to really help either of them, unfortunately. So we're gonna continue traveling over here and pray that this Emerald shows up. Pray he's in a pretty good position where we can get a pretty good first strike on him, and pray that we can duck and weave long enough to stay alive. Overall, though, Myoukou, you know, like I said, you can see some of the situations where she's strong, some of the situations where she's weak. That Citadel is extremely frustrating to deal with. 15 seconds left in the match, and we are going to win out on points just off of the timer. But not before our Iron Duke gets himself Confederate. And a quick shot off there, and the Emerald is nowhere near. Okay, so we have 100,941 damage, 2 kills, and 2 Citadels, 11 aircraft, 6 fires. Not too shabby. 1,888 base XP. There's the detailed report and credits and XP screen. Overall, you know, not my favorite ship in the Japanese cruiser line at all. And you can kind of see why. She's a little frustrating to play, a little bit too passive for my play style, and that's the reason why I don't like her. Anyway, I'm your Peacekeeper. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.